Welcome to a journey through time, a journey that spans millennia, shaped nations, and forged the identity of one of the world's most influential countries. Today, we explore the entire history of the United Kingdom. From ancient tribes and Roman conquests to empire, building and modern democracy, the story of the UK is a story of resilience, innovation, and transformation. Welcome to an extraordinary journey through time, a journey that stretches across thousands of years and uncovers the rich, complex, and often turbulent history of the United Kingdom. The story of this island nation is not just a tale of kings and queens, wars and treaties, but a saga of human resilience, creativity, and ambition that has shaped the modern world. Our story begins in the distant past, long before written records, when the British Isles were home to early hunter-gatherer communities who roamed the landscape in search of food and shelter. These prehistoric peoples left behind traces of their existence in the form of tools, cave paintings, and monumental structures, with Stonehenge standing as one of the most enigmatic and iconic symbols of human ingenuity. Built over 4,000 years ago, Stonehenge is a testament to the spiritual and astronomical knowledge of these early societies, reflecting a culture deeply attuned to the rhythms of nature and the cosmos. As centuries passed, the Celtic tribes emerged as the dominant culture of the British Isles, spreading across what we now know as England, Scotland, Wales, and parts of Ireland. The Celts were known for their intricate art, warrior societies, and rich oral traditions, which preserved their myths, legends, and histories. They established fortified settlements called hill forts, engaged in trade with continental Europe, and practiced spiritual rituals that celebrated the land and its natural cycles. Their influence can still be seen in modern place names, folklore, and cultural traditions throughout the United Kingdom. In 43 AD, the Roman Empire set its sights on Britain, marking the beginning of a profound transformation. The Romans, under Emperor Claudius, invaded and gradually established control over much of the island, creating the province of Britannia. Over the next several centuries, Roman Britain flourished as roads, aqueducts, and towns were built, connecting the island to the vast network of the Roman Empire. Londinium, modern-day London, emerged as a bustling center of commerce, administration, and culture. Roman rule brought not only architectural and engineering advancements, but also new systems of governance, law, and urban planning that would influence British society long after the empire's departure. However, as the Roman Empire weakened, its grip on Britain loosened, leaving the island exposed to waves of migration and invasion from Germanic tribes, setting the stage for the next era of British history. The 5th and 6th centuries saw the arrival of the Anglo-Saxons, along with the Jutes and other Germanic peoples. These settlers established kingdoms across the island, creating a patchwork of territories that would later form the basis of medieval England. The Anglo-Saxon period was characterized by constant warfare, shifting alliances, and the gradual consolidation of power under regional kings. During this time, Christianity spread widely, profoundly influencing culture, education, and art. Monasteries became centers of learning, preserving not only religious texts, but also classical knowledge, ensuring that intellectual traditions survived through the tumult of the early medieval period. By the late 9th and 10th centuries, the Vikings arrived, launching raids along the coasts and rivers of England. These Norse invaders were formidable warriors and traders, leaving a lasting impact on local culture, language, and law. Despite their reputation for destruction, the Vikings contributed to urban development, trade, and the blending of societies as Norse settlers integrated with Anglo-Saxon communities. Over time, England began to unify under strong monarchs, creating a more cohesive political entity capable of resisting external threats. One of the most pivotal moments in British history occurred in 1066 with the Norman Conquest. William the Conqueror, Duke of Normandy, claimed the English throne and won the decisive Battle of Hastings, forever altering the course of the nation. The Normans introduced new administrative systems, reshaped the aristocracy, and influenced the development of the English language, blending Norman French with Old English. Castles and fortifications rose across the landscape, symbolizing both conquest and the consolidation of royal power. The Norman impact on law, governance, and architecture laid the foundation for the centralized monarchy that would dominate England for centuries. The following centuries were marked by dynastic struggles, political upheaval, and cultural transformation. The Plantagenets, followed by the Tudors and Stuarts, presided over eras of war, rebellion, and reform. The Magna Carta, signed in 1215, established the principle that even kings were subject to the law, a revolutionary concept that reverberated far beyond Britain's shores. The Renaissance brought an explosion of art, literature, and scientific inquiry, while the Reformation redefined religious life, leading to profound changes in society, governance, and culture. England became a nation where innovation, intellectual exploration, and religious reform were in constant dialogue, shaping its evolving identity. By the 17th and 18th centuries, the United Kingdom began to emerge as a global power. The Industrial Revolution transformed the economy, society, and the landscape itself. Rural villages gave way to bustling industrial cities, powered by coal, steam, and steel. Technological advancements revolutionized transportation, communication, and manufacturing, propelling Britain to the forefront of global industry. Meanwhile, the British Empire expanded across continents, spreading trade, culture, and political influence, while also leaving a complex legacy of colonization and conflict. These centuries were defined by both extraordinary progress and profound social challenges, as Britain navigated the tensions between tradition and innovation, power and responsibility. The 20th century brought unprecedented trials, as Britain faced two world wars that tested the nation's endurance, resilience, and unity. The horrors of war, from the trenches of the Western Front to the bombings of the Blitz, left an indelible mark on society, yet the nation emerged with a renewed sense of identity and purpose. In the post-war era, Britain underwent remarkable social, political, and economic transformation. The dismantling of the empire gave rise to the Commonwealth, while domestic reforms laid the foundation for the modern welfare state. Scientific and cultural achievements, alongside the evolution of democratic governance, reinforced Britain's influence on the global stage, even as the nation adapted to a rapidly changing world. Today, the United Kingdom is a union of four nations: England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, each with its own unique history, culture, and identity, yet bound together in a shared story. The legacy of the past is visible in the castles and cathedrals, in the languages and traditions, in the literature and philosophy that have shaped generations. From prehistoric monuments to modern cities, from tribal conflicts to global influence, the history of the United Kingdom is a testament to human resilience, ingenuity, and ambition. It is a narrative of evolution, struggle, achievement, and adaptation, reflecting the complexities of a nation that has constantly reinvented itself while preserving the echoes of its past. A nation whose story continues to unfold with every new chapter, every new challenge, and every new triumph. The story of the United Kingdom is not only one of kings, queens, and empires, but also of the ordinary people whose lives, struggles, and ingenuity shaped the nation over centuries. After the Norman conquest, England began a transformation that would affect every aspect of society. Feudalism structured daily life, linking peasants to the land and lords to the crown, while the ruling elite consolidated power, built fortresses, and administered justice across the realm. The medieval period saw both hardship and progress. Life was often brutal and uncertain, yet art, literature, and education began to flourish, particularly within the monastic communities that preserved knowledge through careful transcription of texts, often under threat of fire, invasion, and decay. Trade and commerce expanded as towns grew into thriving centers of production and exchange. Markets bustled with activity, from the sale of wool to the craft of skilled artisans. England's economy became increasingly sophisticated, and with it, the influence of a merchant class grew, laying the groundwork for the social changes that would redefine power in the centuries to come. Meanwhile, the monarchy remained a central force, navigating the delicate balance between asserting authority and responding to the demands of nobles, clergy, and, eventually, the common people. Conflicts like the Hundred Years' War with France and the Wars of the Roses demonstrated the volatility of dynastic politics, yet they also fostered resilience and innovation in governance and military strategy. The Tudor period ushered in a remarkable era of change, marked by exploration, religious upheaval, and the strengthening of the monarchy. Henry Roman VIII's reign altered the spiritual and political landscape of England forever. His break from the Catholic Church and the creation of the Church of England were not only acts of personal and political necessity, but also catalysts for profound cultural and social transformation. England became increasingly unified under the Tudor crown, and the seeds of the modern nation-state were firmly planted. The reign of Elizabeth I, characterized by relative stability, the flourishing of the arts, and the defeat of the Spanish Armada, positioned England as an emerging global power. Literature and theater thrived, with the works of Shakespeare and his contemporaries reflecting and shaping the social consciousness of the time. The 17th century brought both innovation and turmoil. The English Civil War, fought between royalists and parliamentarians, challenged the very nature of authority and governance. The execution of Charles I, the brief establishment of the Commonwealth under Oliver Cromwell, and the eventual restoration of the monarchy highlighted the ongoing tension between monarchy and people. These events set the stage for the Glorious Revolution, the Bill of Rights, and a constitutional monarchy that began to balance power more evenly, establishing principles of governance that would influence democratic institutions worldwide. During this period, the UK also saw the beginnings of industrial and scientific advancement. Thinkers, inventors, and explorers pushed the boundaries of knowledge, mapping unknown lands, experimenting with new technologies, and challenging traditional understanding of the natural world. Intellectual and cultural movements encouraged curiosity, debate, and innovation, laying the foundation for the Industrial Revolution, which would transform every aspect of British life. In Scotland, Wales, and Ireland, distinct cultures persisted even as they interacted with English political and economic influence. Scotland experienced its own dynastic struggles, religious reformations, and eventual union with England in 1707, creating the Kingdom of Great Britain. Wales maintained its language and traditions, contributing rich cultural heritage, while Ireland endured colonization, rebellion, and cultural resilience that would shape centuries of conflict and cooperation. The unification of these nations under a single political framework created a powerful entity capable of exerting influence on a global scale. Yet the differences among them ensured that British identity remained complex, layered, and dynamic. The early modern period was also an age of exploration and empire building. British navigators sailed across oceans, establishing trade routes and colonies that would extend the reach of the kingdom far beyond Europe. These ventures brought wealth and resources, but also moral and ethical challenges, as the consequences of colonization and imperial expansion became increasingly apparent. The interplay of commerce, culture, and conquest defined the UK role in the world, setting the stage for centuries of interaction, conflict, and cooperation with distant lands and peoples. At home, social structures evolved. The rise of cities, growth of literacy, and development of political institutions reflected the dynamic changes taking place in society. From rural villages to urban centers, from monastic schools to early universities, the United Kingdom became a place where knowledge, commerce, and governance increasingly intersected, shaping the lives of millions and laying the groundwork for the modern nation. As the United Kingdom moved into the 18th and 19th centuries, the nation entered a period of unprecedented transformation, one that would redefine society, economy, and its role on the global stage. The Industrial Revolution marked a profound turning point in British history, altering every aspect of daily life, from the way people worked to the cities in which they lived. Before this period, most of the population lived in rural areas, engaged in agriculture or small-scale craftwork. Life was dictated by the seasons, by local customs, and by the rhythms of subsistence farming. The introduction of mechanized production, powered by coal and steam, changed this fundamentally. Factories emerged in towns and cities, concentrating labor and resources, creating new economic opportunities, but also generating harsh working conditions and profound social challenges. Urban centers swelled as people migrated in search of work, and with these changes came overcrowding, disease, and social unrest. The rapid expansion of industry also stimulated technological innovation and scientific progress. Inventors and engineers developed machines that revolutionized textiles, metallurgy, transportation, and agriculture. Steam engines powered factories and locomotives, enabling faster production and movement of goods. Canals and later railways connected distant regions, transforming local markets into national and even international networks. Britain became a hub of innovation, and its industrial strength fueled not only economic growth, but also the expansion of influence overseas. With industrial might came the resources and ambition to establish a global empire, and the 19th century saw Britain at the height of its imperial power. The British Empire stretched across continents, encompassing colonies in Africa, Asia, the Americas, and the Pacific. This expansion brought immense wealth and strategic advantage, yet it also carried moral, political, and social complexities. The colonies supplied raw materials and markets for British goods, and Britain's naval supremacy ensured control of global trade routes. At home, debates about governance, civil rights, and the ethics of empire were emerging. as intellectuals and political leaders grappled with the responsibilities and consequences of imperial rule. Cultural exchanges, scientific exploration, and commercial ventures intertwined with the darker realities of conquest, exploitation, and resistance, shaping the identity of both Britain and its colonies in ways that continue to resonate today. Domestically, the 19th century was also a time of social reform and political evolution. The expansion of voting rights, the establishment of public education, and the creation of social welfare programs reflected the growing recognition of the needs and rights of ordinary citizens. Figures such as William Wilberforce and other reformers championed causes from the abolition of the slave trade to labor protections, leaving a legacy of activism and civic engagement. The Victorian era, named after Queen Victoria, became synonymous with moral rigor, cultural flourishing, and industrial achievement, but it was also a period of stark social contrasts, with wealth and poverty existing side by side, often within the same city streets. Science, literature, and the arts thrived during this period, reflecting both the optimism and the anxieties of a rapidly changing society. Writers such as Charles Dickens explored the human cost of industrialization, highlighting the plight of the poor and the inequities of society. Philosophers, scientists, and thinkers pushed the boundaries of knowledge, contributing to discoveries in medicine, engineering, and natural sciences. Public institutions, museums, and universities expanded access to learning, fostering a culture of intellectual curiosity that would influence generations to come. The turn of the 20th century brought both hope and profound challenges. The United Kingdom, as the preeminent global power, faced complex international relations, technological competition, and social pressures at home. The First World War erupted, testing the resilience of the nation and its people. Millions of British soldiers served on battlefields across Europe and beyond, and the war brought unprecedented casualties, hardship, and social upheaval. Women entered the workforce in large numbers, assuming roles previously reserved for men, challenging traditional gender norms and accelerating social change. The aftermath of the war left Britain grappling with economic strain, political shifts, and the difficult task of reintegrating millions of veterans into civilian life. The interwar period saw further social, political, and economic challenges. The Great Depression affected trade, industry, and employment, while political movements across the spectrum shaped the national conversation about governance, equality, and Britain's role in the world. The rise of mass media, from newspapers to radio, transformed public engagement with politics, culture, and global events. Yet despite hardships, the United Kingdom maintained a sense of identity, resilience, and cultural innovation, preparing to face the most devastating conflict in human history, the Second World War. World War Roman II brought Britain to the forefront of global attention once again, testing the nation in unprecedented ways. The Blitz brought destruction to cities, yet it also revealed remarkable courage, solidarity, and determination among ordinary citizens. The leadership of figures like Winston Churchill inspired a nation under siege, and Britain's strategic alliances and military contributions were decisive in the eventual defeat of Axis powers. The war reshaped the political and social landscape, accelerating decolonization, prompting economic reconstruction, and ushering in a new era of international relations. In the post-war period, the United Kingdom faced both the challenges of rebuilding and the opportunities of transformation. The creation of the National Health Service, the expansion of education and housing programs reflected a commitment to improving the quality of life for citizens. The economy shifted towards services and technology, while global influence transitioned from imperial dominance to diplomatic, cultural, and economic leadership within the Commonwealth and international institutions. Britain navigated complex relationships with Europe, the United States, and former colonies, balancing tradition and modernization, continuity and change, as it charted a course into the late 20th century and beyond.